So there's been like 10 or 20 people born in Antarctica in human history. And there's been one murder, and it's an unsolved murder.
He's actually no longer a flat earther.
Oh, interesting.
And they asked me if I would do their wedding in Antarctica.
Oh, really?
I did have a helper, which was you.
How is this being financed?
I will say one other thing, which I don't think I've ever said in an interview.
Is there a strong relationship between flat earthers and religion?
Flat Earth side has been extremely negative. I found out that it was all a hoax. It was a scam. So I was being pranked by a flat earther.
Have you gotten any real threats against you or your family having done this? Hello and welcome to the first Data Time podcast. This is really just a video, but I tell YouTube it's a podcast because in this video, I interview Will Duffy, the creator of the final experiment, the last experiment to prove once and for all whether the Earth is flat or round. Will is going to be traveling to Antarctica with flat earthers and globe earthers in order to settle a long debate about whether Antarctica has a 24-hour sun.
On a flat Earth, you can't have a 24-hour sun, a midnight sun in Antarctica, but there is no midnight sun in Antarctica.
We also discussed some larger issues about how flat earther and globe earther interactions can be quite toxic. Was he the one that said he doesn't want to deal with you because you deal with demons and liars? And we talk about how I've been helping Will with his videos by using my software to download the words of flat earthers' YouTube channels. I even downloaded all of the transcripts from Will's channel and showed him the AI sentiment analysis of his own words. And those are the most negative videos.
Wow.
I don't usually like long free-form interviews, so I've edited this down and provided chapters for each of the segments that you can jump to below. For those of you who have never heard my normal, unscripted speaking voice, you are gonna find it severely underwhelming. At this part of the video, I would normally say, but enough talk. However, this is an interview. It's all talk. So instead, I'll just say, please welcome Will Duffy. First off, I just want to say thanks, Will, for joining me here on the channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You've been a big help, so glad to finally connect in this way.
Definitely. So a lot of my viewers do not necessarily know what the final experiment is. Can you kind of give a little bit of background on yourself and how you kind of got into this flat earther, globe earther arena?
For sure, yeah. So I currently pastor a small church just outside of Denver, Colorado. And a little over 3 years ago, a friend of mine, she posted on Facebook about flat earth. My first thought was that it was a joke, but she had a bunch of likes and hearts on her post, which was weird. It wasn't April Fool's Day. So I read the comments. They were supportive of her. And so I was like, what is going on? I got to get to the bottom of this. So I reached out to her and connected with her and found out that she was a genuine flat earther. That's when I found out that flat earth was a thing, a real thing that had people all over the world who believe in it. They make videos, they write articles, even books. And I was just shocked. So I thought that I could quickly change her mind. I thought that would be one of the easiest discussions/debates that I could ever have. But she had answers for the arguments that I was using. She also knew my position, the globe side, better than I knew it. She obviously knew her position, the flat earth side, better than I knew it. That probably happens to a lot of people, I'm guessing, when they first are turned on to flat earth. And so that is an interesting moment in your life where you have to make a decision if you're going to just ignore them, call them crazy or weird or whatever you want to do and move on with your life, or if you're going to stick with it. And I decided to stick with it.
Awesome. Can you give a little bit of understanding of how you got to the final experiment and what exactly the final experiment is?
Yeah, so in these discussions, I started interacting with flat earthers online, on Facebook, on YouTube. It kind of became, an educational thing for me. I was learning a lot about both models, both positions. I became convinced even stronger that we live on a globe through all of this, but the things that were convincing to me were not convincing to flat earthers. For example, I was very fascinated and still am with a geostationary weather satellite that the Japanese have called the Himawari. And it takes a picture of the entire Earth every 10 minutes. And so that was fascinating to me. I looked into the Apollo programs because that was before I was born. And I learned a lot about them and thought that they were incredibly fascinating. And then the ISS, the International Space Station, just loved the fact that people were up there. I went outside and I got to follow the ISS trackers and saw the ISS outside of my house when it was supposed to be there, or traveling in the direction it was supposed to be traveling. So anyway, those things were not convincing to flat earthers. And so it's good that it's convincing to me, but I was thinking to myself, is there anything that would convince flat earthers that they're wrong? And is there anything that would convince us globers that we're wrong? And then one day I heard Flat Earth Dave say that a 24-hour sun in Antarctica doesn't work on a flat Earth.
One of the arguments that people give is on a flat Earth, you can't have a 24-hour sun, a midnight sun in Antarctica. And I totally agree. But there is no midnight sun in Antarctica.
And he said that a 24-hour sun would prove the globe. And then I was like, that's interesting. So then on the globe side, they were saying the same thing. They were saying that we have a 24-hour sun and that proves the globe. And then I started hearing other flat earthers say it. And I was like, okay, this would be a good experiment, a good final experiment to do. And so I spent months making contacts and doing planning to get flat earthers and globers to Antarctica to see whether or not there is a 24-hour sun. So the final experiment takes place in less than 2 months. On December 14th, we will be in Antarctica, and we will be broadcasting and recording and testifying to what the sun does in Antarctica.
So for folks who may not be quite as familiar with the nature of the final experiment, can you kind of describe briefly how the globe model and the flat Earth model differ in Antarctica?
Yeah, so I finally have a globe here, which is nice. And so the globe model, the globe is tilted. That's why when you buy a globe, it's not straight up and down. That's called an axial tilt, and it's about 23.5 degrees. And so when it's the summer in the south, you have Antarctica, which is an island continent at the bottom of the globe. You have that tilt toward the sun. So you can just imagine the sun is over here. And so if you visualize this, as the Earth is spinning, Antarctica down there is constantly in the light. That creates what's called a 24-hour sun, which is a sun that never sets. It stays up for 24 hours. So if the globe model is accurate, if you go to Antarctica, you have to be far enough south. We'll be right at 80 degrees south. The sun would actually do circles above your head in the sky, and that's all it will do. It will never set below the horizon. Now, if we grab the flat Earth model, this is what's known as a Gleason's map or an AE map. This is the only working flat Earth model, meaning the only one that actually makes any sense of seasons, the sun, the stars, flights, all kinds of things. Now, again, some people on the globe side will disagree with me and they'll say there's problems with the flat Earth map, which is fine. Flat Earthers will say there's problems with the globe. But as a general rule of thumb, most things seem to work on the globe model and the flat Earth model. So on this model, the sun goes in a circle around this flat Earth. The north would be the center. That's kind of the North Pole. Now there's actually a 24-hour sun in the north as well, which happens in the northern summer. Most people in the world live in the northern hemisphere. So most people, when you think summer, you think July, August timeframe, September. On both the flat Earth model and the globe, the sun visually above your head does circles in the sky. But on the flat Earth model, when we get to the south, that's when we have a huge difference. Instead of being an island continent like it is on the globe model, it's actually this gigantic ice wall that goes around all of the other continents on the Earth. And so you can't have a 24-hour sun. If you just put a random person in Antarctica, say right there, the sun would have to rise, pass by them, and then set, because the sun's got to get all the way to the other side of the Earth because everybody sees the sun every day. So we are going to be south of South America. So we're going to be in Antarctica right here. And so if the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, and then goes past us and ends up over Australia, we should not be able to see the sun in Antarctica if the flat Earth model is accurate. And so that's the difference between the two models. And it's a very definitive test. It's a very definitive experiment that we're going to be doing. Both sides agreed it was definitive prior to me announcing the final experiment. The flat Earth side is now pushing back, which I think means they just realize that there probably is a 24-hour sun and they're trying to figure out what to do about that.
Yeah. The other way I've heard people describe it is if I'm on the flat Earth and I'm in Antarctica and I'm facing north, then the sun should never go behind me,
right,
south of me. But on the globe side, in 24 hours, it'll go in all directions around you, northwest, southeast.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. On the flat Earth model, the sun makes its widest circuit when it's going over the Tropic of Capricorn. And even that wide circuit never gets directly above Antarctica. And so, yes, it could never be south of you. That's accurate.
Because I think one thing that my globe earther friends would ask is, well, then if the sun on the flat Earth is just going like above you. It's never setting. How come when I go out and look west, I see the sunset? Or when I go east, I see the sunrise? And my understanding from what I've heard from flat earthers is it has to do with perspective. The sun never sets, it just appears to set because it's far enough away. And maybe there's some refraction as well. Those are the explanations that I heard.
Here's streetlights. They're all the same height, but they're like the ones that are, half a mile down the road, you can't see them. They merge into the horizon, right? And the sun does the same thing. It just goes down and merges into the horizon.
The difficulty they have is when it comes to the height of the sun. So if you put the sun high enough, everybody would be able to see it, as you're saying. So you actually have to bring the sun down to get something to where it's far enough away that you wouldn't see it anymore, like a car or something. But if you come too low, then you're going to have issues with the amount of the Earth that's lit up at one time. So I do think it is a bit problematic.
I think the main takeaway is, even before you started this experiment, a bunch of flat earthers said, first of all, some of them said you can't go to Antarctica. And even if you could go to Antarctica, you would not see a 24-hour sun. Meanwhile, the globe earthers said, oh, for sure you see a 24-hour sun. In fact, we have video recordings of people at the South Pole doing stuff like this. And the flat earthers say, well, that's not real, that's forged. And
yeah, so you're exactly right. Many flat earthers talked about the fact that there can't be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica if the Earth is flat. They all said some variation of that. That's not a direct quote. They also did say that, if there was video evidence that they thought the video was faked or doctored or altered or whatever. And so I just decided to eliminate all of that and say, let's just go see it with our own eyes. Yeah, we've got 3 flat earthers and 4 globe earthers that will be going all at the same time, and maybe more if people will sign up here at the last minute.
And how is this being financed?
I originally was going to pay for 1 flat earther and 1 glober to go. That's turned into me paying for 2 flat earthers and 1 glober. So I'm paying for that out of my own pocket. Other people are self-funded. They just signed up and paid for themselves. Other people have crowdfunded, and so their followers or fans are paying for them. And then we helped initiate a crowdfund for a flat earther. Her name is Lisbeth, and that was successful, so she's going as well.
So this is something anyone potentially could do if they wanted.
Yes, so we are going with a company called Antarctic Logistics and Expeditions, ALE, and they've been taking tourists to Antarctica for 30 years, maybe more. So this is actually an expedition that they run every single year at this time of year that anybody can go on. So they actually run multiple expeditions to Antarctica each year. So I've told people, if you want to go with us, you can. If you want to go on the same one next year, you can. Or if you want to go on a different one this year and beat us there, you can. Tons of options.
And how much is a ticket for this journey?
It's wildly expensive. So it's about $31,500. And believe it or not, that's actually the least expensive trip to Antarctica that I could find that makes it inland, meaning you're taking a plane. There are some cruises that you can get a bit cheaper, around the $20,000 mark, but those don't go far enough south usually to see whether or not there's a 24-hour sun. So it's very expensive. What people don't realize is how much has to go into this. Safety is obviously a number one priority. They've got to fly a plane there. So there's a lot of expenses to cover, but it's something that has only been accessible in, recent times, considering the history of the world. And it's something that a lot of people are very privileged to be able to do, and I'm excited to be able to do it as well.
And you're going specifically to a place called, is it Glacier Point?
Union Glacier.
Union Glacier. And that's like 80 degrees latitude? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the exact coordinates are 79 degrees, 46 minutes south. So it's just shy of 80 degrees south. And on the globe model, the furthest south you can go is 90 degrees. So we would be very, very close to the South Pole.
So one question I had is, why not go to the South Pole and, literally the bottom of the Earth?
The easy answer is cost. So the cheapest South Pole trip I could find was $65,000 per person. And the South Pole trips are very short. They're usually only one night.
Oh.
And so we're going to be in Union Glacier for 5 days. I wanted to make sure, in case there was bad weather, cloud cover, whatever, that we at least had one 24-hour period with clear skies to be able to document the sun.
I know some of the flat earthers were saying, what if there's cloud cover and we don't see the sun just because of overcast? I don't know what the weather is like in Antarctica, because I thought Antarctica was like a desert despite its snow and that it was pretty clear. But then I've seen video of there being clouds in Antarctica. So I don't know what the weather forecast would be.
Well, the weather is very extreme in Antarctica in general, but in December, that's the peak of their summer. And so there can be perfectly blue skies.
What kind of observations or equipment will you have?
I'm bringing 2 360-degree cameras. That's going to be super important, I think. And other people are going to have cameras probably on some sort of motorized mounts that can, track the sun. We're also going to have a drone there just in case we need it, in case maybe the sun goes behind a mountain or something. We just want to be prepared for whatever we might need.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the current state of things. Do you have your globe earther and flat earther lined up now?
Yeah, the first flat earther we offered the all expenses paid trip to was David Weiss. He goes by Flat Earth Dave, and he declined the free trip, which I think was a bad move strategically, in my opinion.
This is the guy, was he the one that said he doesn't want to deal with you because you deal with demons and liars?
Yes, that's right. So he said that my friends are demons and liars, and he eventually called me a demon and a liar.
The guy's a complete and total fraud. I said I want nothing to do with him because in my eyes, he's a demon.
So yeah, that was his great excuse for not going with us. Then we offered on the globe side, we offered the trip to Dave McKeegan. This was all done by a public vote, by the way. This wasn't my decision. And he won and he accepted the trip. And then on the flat earth side, it's going to be Jaron Campanella, who runs the channel Jaronism, and Austin Whitsitt, who runs the channel Whitsitt Gets It. We're also going to have on the globe side a YouTuber named Critical Think. And then we're also going to have Mike Toon, who runs MC Toon. And then we're also going to have one more flat earther, which is Lisbeth Acosta.
And then there were some other folks that were potentially interested.
Yeah, Candace Owens was interested. She's actually going to be out of country during that time, so she can't go. But she's interested in enough that she's sending her director. He will be going with us, which is exciting, and he'll be reporting back to her, hopefully live, what's going on down there. And then Alex Stein is an interesting one. Tim Pool, a popular political commentator on YouTube, has offered to pay for him.
Should I go? There's a thing called the Final Experiment right now, and they want me to go, Tim, but this is what I had to do. I had to fly to the tip of Chile, then Chile, you fly 4 hours to the base camp in Antarctica.
He has not given me an answer, so I don't know if he's going to go or not. I'm going to start putting a little pressure on him tomorrow.
You talked a little bit about Lisbeth was the one that you sponsored to go. Can you talk a little bit about how her ticket is being funded now and how it was originally supposed to be funded?
This had happened multiple times already, and we had no issues, but someone reached out to me and said, hey, Will, I want to pay for a flat earther to go, but I want it to be any flat earther, not just a specific person. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Let's just do like a contest. And I called it the golden ticket offer because it just reminded me of Willy Wonka. And so we had people apply. So we received 40 applications. I narrowed it down personally to 10 people. And then we held a live where we introduced the audience to all 10 of them and kind of gave them a chance to tell their story. And then at the end, I narrowed it down and picked the one winner, which was Lisbeth. And we have a winner.
Oh my God, thank you, God. Thank you, DFP.
After that was done, I found out that it was all a hoax. It was a scam. So I was being pranked by a flat earther. So this flat earther essentially lied to me and said that he wanted to pay for a flat earther, lied about his identity, lied about everything. And he didn't even have the money and wasn't even going to do it. So this was disappointing, obviously, especially because we got all these people's hopes up, and especially Lisbeth, who won. So I started a GoFundMe. We got tons of donations, well over 100 donations. And so that was going very well. And then someone on the globe side reached out to me and said, hey, Will, I really want to have her go, and I'm just going to go ahead and pay for the rest, whatever you need. So we got the funds raised for her. She's paid for, and she's coming as well.
That's awesome. It's also interesting that really it was a flat earther who scammed another flat earther out of an opportunity to go to Antarctica.
Technically, yes. I don't know if he could see that or not, but I was like, this is not helping you guys at all. All the globe offers for people, meaning the globe side offered to pay for people to go, sponsor people to go, those were all legitimate. And then the one that came from a flat earther was not legitimate. Plus, he did this to his own side. So he ended up going on a lot of flat earth channels bragging about it.
I was just doing a prank with him, but he's so gullible.
So you the guy that is claiming you scammed him?
Yeah, he's talking about me. I was really very frustrated with Will Duffy nonsense things. He thinks he's so smart. So I thought, let's see how smart he is.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting thing, to go brag. Yeah, I'm trying to understand who's really getting hurt here.
It's not fun to go through that, especially for me, but the fact that Lisbeth is now going and the community rallied around her, I think it's for the better.
All right, I'm going to switch gears a little bit now and talk about the data. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how you and I have been interacting behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it's funny because flat earthers have been claiming that I've been working with someone. I did have a helper and secret sauce, if you will, which was you. So I'm really thankful for that. So you reached out to me at some point in the past and let me know that you had this unique way of doing searches and extracting data from YouTube. And I didn't quite understand it when you explained it, but I eventually asked you to search something for me on some channel and the data was phenomenal. So essentially, if I was ever curious or needed to know if a certain flat earth channel or even a globe earth channel has ever talked about something specific, you could just give me, here's the videos, the timestamps, and here's the small transcript of that section. So I could just go right to it. And the reason that's been so invaluable is because flat earth content is extremely long. It's normally multiple hours long. And I just don't have time, even at 2x speed, to listen to that. And so you've helped me just kind of cut right to the chase, and can't thank you enough.
Sure, definitely. I'm glad it worked out as well as it did. The thing with the flat earther content is Nathan Oakley's an example I'm going to use a lot. He has live streams he does every day. They're usually 2 hours. So if you do a live stream every day for 2 hours, year over year, he had like thousands of these really long videos. But thankfully, YouTube auto transcribes most videos. And if you know how to use the API, there's a way to download that. And so I basically have a transcript of almost every Nathan Oakley video going back years. And then there's certain keywords that you asked to look for, Antarctica, 24-hour sun. At that point, it becomes more or less like a text search. But it doesn't just know what video it's in, it has the time code. And so there's a way you can create a link and just jump to that particular section of that video, and then you can, extract it.
Yeah, but it's a very powerful tool. And I'm so thankful. It saved me a ton of time, and time is money,
I will say that is sort of my frustration with the flat earth side. Almost all of them have chosen the podcast live stream format. Whereas if I watch like a Dave McKeegan video, it's a pretty concise, 10-minute video. It's edited to say what he's going to say. It's got visual aids. He cuts back and forth. Just in terms of video production, it's a much more concise story.
It is.
And I don't know that, I haven't discovered a flat earther that makes that kind of content consistently. It's usually, here's our 2-hour live stream where we have kind of a stream of consciousness discussion.
Yeah, you're right. I can't think of one either that does that.
So with that, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that I have been doing with word analysis and how it kind of relates to what I've discovered with the flat earth community, which has to do a bit more with the sentiment analysis. So one of the things I've done with my videos is searching for YouTubers' transcripts. I can also take that information and send it to an AI and say, is this positive? Is this negative? And it has some understanding of positivity and negativity. If you say, I hate you, that's a negative thing. But it even understands subtle stuff. And in fact, I even gave it a sentence that said, you could fill a library with what you don't know.
Oh, wow.
And it said, that sounds negative. It might be a joke, but it sounds negative. So I've been doing sentiment analysis on other YouTube channels and on politicians and analyzing that. And I was thinking about sort of doing that with flat earthers as well, because I've noticed this is a very toxic environment. The flat earthers and globe earthers fighting each other. And so you do get a lot of people on both sides who seem to be quite negative with each other.
And they knew how fast they were going all the way to America. What are you talking about?
I expose his stupidity, his lack of knowledge, his retardation.
Folks like Dave McKeegan seem to be quite positive, and you seem to be quite positive. But I wanted to see what your reaction was to coming into this flat earther, globe earther arena and the positivity or negativity you may have felt from one side or both.
Yeah, for sure. So the globe side has been almost completely positive. The only negativity that sticks in my mind on the globe side is someone said that I shouldn't be paying for a glober to go to Antarctica. I should instead pay for 2 flat earthers. That was the extent of the negativity on the globe side. The flat earth side has been extremely negative, calling me every possible thing you can think of. The most recent one was Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave, said that I'm a fake pastor. I'm not exactly sure what a fake pastor is. But yeah, they just don't seem to want to play well together, which I don't understand, because now there are people on the globe side that do treat them poorly. I will admit that, you know? They're rude, they name call, they bash, mock, make fun of, but that's not who I am. And so when I came into this like, hey guys, let's do this together. I'm paying for both sides. I've represented both sides accurately, meaning I understand both models. And so all of that was fine. Had I said that I was a flat earther, I think they would have accepted me with open arms. But because I said, just so you guys know, I'm not going to lie about this, I am a glober, but I'm open to being wrong. That's what we should want the opposition to say to us, is like, hey, this is where I'm at, but I'm open to being wrong. Just the fact that I was on the globe side, I immediately became the target of multiple attacks, accusations, baseless claims, lies, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I do feel like with a lot of conflict, you do have the good actors and the bad actors on both sides. And so if you come out and say, just so you know, I'm a globe earther, you're going to get a lot of the negativity probably from the more extremist flat earthers. And it's just sort of like this escalation of these two different sides, very similar to other conflicts in human history. I don't know who fires first, but as long as one person fires, then we get this sort of retaliation, and it sort of escalates from there. Have you gotten any real threats against you or your family having done this?
That's a good question. I should know, right?
Well, presumably, if you can't remember, hopefully that means there aren't any, and that's a good thing.
There's definitely been threats. Real threats, no. I would say no. Like, people say they want to like punch me, and nothing that's concerned me.
Okay, that's good. Did you say there was a pastor you knew who was a victim to a drive-by shooting?
Yes. Okay, so this is actually kind of an important part of the whole story. There was a flat earth debate between 2 pastors in Tennessee in the Nashville area last December. I went to it in person. The globe pastor was Greg Locke. The flat earth pastor was Dean Odell. During that debate, so I had already come up with the final experiment. I had already bought the website. I had already started working on the videos. The flat earth pastor in that debate on stage said that the entire debate could be settled by going to Antarctica and seeing if there's a 24-hour sun.
Hey, this would be easy to prove, but they hide this from us too. All we'd have to prove is go to Antarctica. Let me and you go to Antarctica, spend a week there in the summer, and let's see if the sun does a 360-degree circle all the way around us. If so, it's a ball. But if the sun comes in this way and then leaves that way, then it's not. It is what we say it is.
So then why can't we go and just see it for ourselves?
Well, let's just see if they'll let us.
Oh, they will let us. I've already checked into it. Right. They'll absolutely let us.
Let's go.
When he said that, like, I just was filled with so much joy, because I was like, my idea is a good one. And it's not going to be all for naught. Like, everything I'm doing is good. It's the flat earth side saying that. Now, I have no idea if this is related to flat earth or not, but that pastor, the globe pastor, Greg Locke, a few weeks ago, somebody shot up his house with a fully automatic weapon. There was dozens, probably 50 to 100 shots within seconds. And fortunately, he wasn't home. He and his wife were not home. One of their children was home and sleeping, but did not get hit, thankfully. They got home less than 60 seconds after the shooter left.
Oh, wow.
And this was late at night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. I haven't communicated with Greg, so I'm getting all of this from just his Facebook posts and updates, but pretty scary stuff. And I don't know if they've caught the guy or even know who did it.
So it's unclear what the motive of the shooter was. There's no confirmation this was related to flat earther, globe earther, but we have no information, it sounds like.
No, Greg Locke had enemies prior to his flat earth debate against Dean Odell, so it's tough to say. It's all speculation, but at this point, unless they've caught the guy, I just haven't followed it.
One thing I also wanted to ask is the relationship between flat earthers and religion. It does seem like, I don't know if it's all flat earthers or at least just the ones I watch, many of them believe in the flat earth as an aspect of their own faith, their biblical cosmology. And so it's really great, I think, that you're a pastor doing this, because I suspect that hopefully creates a better impression for them. But I just wanted to see your take on it. Is there a strong relationship between flat earthers and religion?
This is a bit of an enigma to me, because while it does feel that way, and while it does seem that way, the main flat earth leaders, if I can call them that, the ones that have the biggest following, they're not religious at all. Eric Dubé, not religious. Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave, not religious. Jaron Campanella, I don't believe is religious. I don't get it. It's a bit of a strange one, because most flat earthers that you will meet in your life or you communicate with will be religious, but the main ones are not.
One other question I wanted to ask you about is, a lot of times I'll hear flat earthers and globe earthers criticize the others for being grifters. Oh, they're just grifting, they're just scamming, they're just in it for the money. And I find that hard to believe when I look at their numbers, their performance online, because some of these channels are quite small.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of claims of grifting. I can't really know if we could ever know who's actually grifting. I think turning down a free trip to Antarctica would be evidence that maybe you're grifting, or your reaction to the final experiment. If you said prior to TFE that, you know, a flat earth can't have a 24-hour sun, or a 24-hour sun would prove the globe, or this would be a valid thing to help us solve it, and then all of a sudden, now that we're going to do it, you're like, no, it's not a good test anymore. I think that could be evidence that you're grifting, but it's just tough to say. I will say this: once you put something out there that becomes big publicly, like for example, I've written books, and there's a risk to writing books that people have no idea about. It's a huge risk. Like, it almost makes writing a book not worth it, almost. And it's this: you're making it almost impossible to ever change your mind. And the reason why is because to change your mind, you're going to have to accept inside that you made money off of something that was not true. You took someone's money, you sold them something that was not true. And you're going to forever wonder, how many people did I lead astray that I won't be able to reach for them to hear me that I've changed my mind? I will say one other thing, which I don't think I've ever said in an interview. Flat Earth is censored, and it's censored hard. When I want to find something on YouTube, I can't find it. I can search the verbatim title of a Flat Earth video, and I get like a Professor Dave video that's not related at all.
Yeah, I've had that trouble as well. When I was trying to do a video about flat Earth, I was trying to do some research on it, and when I would type in flat Earth questions, I would get the Dave McKeegans or the Simon Dans about why they're wrong, which it was actually still helpful, because I learned that flat earthers existed from watching Dave McKeegan videos. He would reference other flat earthers, and I would then go watch them, and then I would try and learn more about it that way. By the way, one of the criticisms I have heard from globe earthers about this is, you shouldn't talk about flat earth because you're just going to give more of a platform to them. That's the negativity I've received from globe earthers.
I actually think the censorship has led to a growth in flat earth, because people have a tendency, human nature, to think if something's being censored, it's being censored because it's true. It's being censored because they're trying to hide the truth. I actually think there is a value to society with free speech, and the more that is suppressed, the worse off society will be.
It's interesting. I've heard that flat earth was big around 2017, 2018, and then a lot of the censorship stuff got put in place, and now it's gone down since then.
Yeah, I don't know where we'd find some accurate statistics, but I highly doubt that's the case. I would guess there's way more flat earthers in the world than back then.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's hard to say, because my belief is that flat earthers are very vocal, and sometimes it's difficult to know how many there are, because it seems like their numbers are much bigger, but really they're just very vocal. That's my speculation, but I don't have any evidence to back that up.
Yeah, tough to say.
Have you felt that the negativity that you've experienced has changed your tone in the way you make videos to either be more positive to counteract it, or to kind of fight back and be more critical of other YouTubers who criticize you?
Yeah, I've really kept my cool, except for one interview that I did where they were asking me incredibly horrible private questions, and I just kind of lost it. A lot of people have said they would have reacted the same way. If someone is going to be rude to me and make crazy excuses, I'm going to go ahead and make a video that just sets the record straight. That says, hey, this was your position. You're now changing your mind. There doesn't seem to be a good reason for that. I am going to do that. But for other people who just bow out gracefully or who decide to participate with TFE, I haven't done anything with those people. So it's just all about respect and, mutual reciprocity. And you treat me nice, I'll treat you nice. But if you're going to be rude, not communicate with me, not respond to my emails, not respond to my texts, make videos about me that are not exactly accurate, then I'm going to go ahead and put something out to just make sure that we're telling the full truth of the story here.
So I actually last night went and downloaded all the transcripts from your videos. I just did speaking speed, view count, and then I did the AI thing where I looked at the positivity and negativity of your videos over time. Would you be interested in looking at that right now?
Sounds super fascinating. Let's do it.
So I went through and I grabbed all of your videos and downloaded the transcripts from them. So the first one is just how many views you got. Here's all the videos you made. Here's the one big outlier. That's the Nathan Oakley video.
Yeah, I have no idea why that happened.
The red line here is how many words per minute you speak. Your pacing has gotten a little bit faster over time.
That's because I started scripting.
Oh, okay. And then the big one is the positivity and negativity. And this one's sort of interesting. So your very first videos, you're not in them. You just are showing clips of flat earthers saying things about Antarctica. And those are the most negative videos.
Wow.
So red here is negative and green is positive. I forget when you revealed yourself, but I think it was sometime in the spring.
Yes, it was. It was.
And so then your positivity goes up, your negativity goes down. Then the negativity goes back up again. I think this is when you were doing Eric Dubay, Nathan Oakley type reviews. That's kind of the same time frame.
Yeah, sounds right.
And now it's gone, negativity's gone way down and positivity is higher than basically it's ever been. I think a lot of this is with the golden ticket winner. Well, it's not just your words. These are just all the words that show up on your channel. There's no way to distinguish really between your words versus a clip that you're showing of Nathan Oakley saying something or Elizabeth being excited about, winning the golden ticket.
Yeah, thank you. This is fascinating. I love this.
I'm considering doing something like this for like all flat earth channels and all globe earth channels.
Wow.
To see if there's like a trend.
Mm-hmm.
On this whole journey you've been with the final experiment, have you ever had any big surprises?
I'll just say the one that's the most recent. Someone reached out to me. He was a flat earther. And because of the final experiment and a Dave McKeegan video, he's actually no longer a flat earther.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so when he found out about TFE, he was super pumped because he thought there's definitely not a 24-hour sun and this is the opportunity. And he reached out to Eric Dubay. And Eric Dubay did not mirror his excitement. Eric Dubay was just like, oh, I'm not excited. It's not a valid test. The lights in the sky don't tell us the shape of the earth.
Yeah, actually, he said, I don't share your enthusiasm about this final experiment. He said it's a straw man. And then he started saying like weird stuff. Like he said, even if there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it might be a second sun or it might be a sun simulator. And when I read that, I was just like, oh. And I couldn't even respond. I couldn't even bring myself to respond. I just unsubscribed from his Patreon and I ate the humble pie and changed my mind. It's a globe,
This guy was an Eric Dubay Patreon. Eric Dubay has said the strongest statements about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, calling it something that is from the heliocentric model.
In order to fit the heliocentric globe model, this midnight sun phenomenon must also occur for observers south of the Antarctic Circle during winter solstice. Depending how far south the observer is, the sun should be seen for several days or weeks, never fully setting, just like it does in the north. In reality, however, there is never 24-hour sunlight anywhere in Antarctica at any time of year.
And so he was like, yeah, this is bogus. So he left Flat Earth. By the way, he's got a tattoo of this map on his leg. So that's how much of a hardcore flat earther he was. He recently, within the last couple weeks, proposed to his girlfriend. She said yes. And they asked me if I would do their wedding in Antarctica.
Oh, really? Wait, this December?
Yeah.
They're both going to go to Antarctica with you.
Well, they can't afford it, so they're crowdfunding.
I see.
So they've got a little bit of their romantic story on GoFundMe, and if they can crowdfund it, I'm going to perform a wedding in Antarctica.
How many weddings have been officiated in Antarctica?
I don't know, but I know for sure there was at least one. So
okay.
Anthony Powell, he's a filmmaker. If you Google his name, he comes right up. He has spent more time in Antarctica than anybody else I personally have ever read about in the world. And I believe he met his wife in Antarctica and they actually got married in Antarctica.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did a video one time about Antarctica. I was trying to see, have there been, there's only been a few births in Antarctica. There's been like a handful of people. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, in the 70s, there was a race to do this because it's a contentious continent. A bunch of countries are trying to get their people born there to make it seem like, oh no, this is ours. So there's been like 10 or 20 people born in Antarctica in human history. And there's been one murder. And it's an unsolved murder. And some of the evidence is flimsy. It may have been an accident. Someone died of suspicious circumstances, and it's still considered unsolved. It was like 20 years ago. It was at the South Pole Station.
Crazy.
So hopefully that won't happen this December. Everything will be good. I know Jeranism was talking about cover-ups and like, I don't want to go by myself because what if the government stopped me from seeing the truth? You've got a very eclectic group of people who have never interacted with each other before. Like Dave McKeegan, I don't think has ever met Jeranism or Austin in person. Are you going to be kind of like the camp counselor who's trying to keep everyone, behaving well?
If I have to play a pastoral role, I will, but I just don't think I'm going to. We're all going to meet up in South America, and I think we'll probably all go out to dinner the first night, and I think we'll be friends from then on.
I certainly hope that's the case. I mean, it sounds like it. One theory I have is a lot of these animosities that happen online wouldn't happen if people met in real life.
Absolutely.
But that could just be my naive optimism, because I know people in real life who hate each other too. So it's not necessarily the case. But I do feel like in some weird way, they actually have more in common with each other in many ways, because they're talking about, oh, how do you do this on your YouTube channel? Oh, what's the algorithm say to you? Do you get censored the same amount as me? Because I make Flat Earth content, you make Flat Earth content. The same Wikipedia article shows up at the bottom of all of our videos about Flat Earth.
Right.
Okay, one last thing I want to ask is, this is the final experiment, the last experiment ever needed to prove once and for all whether the Earth is a globe or it's a flat disk. Do you think everyone on both sides will say, yep, we can put to bed this debate?
There's kind of two answers I have to give, right? Will it be final? Yes. What I mean by that is it will be definitive, okay? Let's face the facts. There are still people today who deny the Holocaust. There are people today who deny the Titanic sank, okay? You're always gonna have outliers. You're always gonna have contrarians. And so is it gonna convert every flat earther overnight? No. Should it take care of most of them? Yes, it should. So if there's a 24-hour sun, it does mean we live on a globe. There is no other option. I think a lot of flat earthers will abandon flat Earth. How many? Don't know yet.
I would say I'm optimistic, but maybe a little bit more skeptical than you. I thought what you were going to say for your second answer is just seeing how many flat earthers are not willing to even participate in this. Like that one person you mentioned who said, well, Eric Dubé was not as excited about this as I sort of expected him to be. And I think that's a more interesting experiment, a social experiment, to see who's willing to even try and investigate truth to this, to this degree.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're starting to abandon their map, and they can't. I have a video coming out in the next week or so about why they can't abandon it and why they need it. It's going to take everything that's going on, the lead up, the time in Antarctica itself, and then the fallout before we know exactly how people are going to react. They're going to need to kind of take it all in as a whole, I think, before they make their final decision. So we'll see.
I think the other thing I was going to say when you showed that map, the Gleason map, the disk, is I know sometimes flat earthers don't even like when people show that map, because they'll say, well, we don't know what the Earth really looks like. We just know it's not a globe. They're almost more of a globe denier than they are a flat Earth enthusiast. And when I've tried to get information from them, like, how far is the sun above the earth? Give me that distance. Well, we don't really know. How do you even know what the sun is?
No one can tell you how close or far away the sun is. It just can't be measured.
Yeah, who says the sun is a physical thing anyway?
I know.
Exactly.
They don't typically like defining things as specifically as you would need them to be defined in order to test the model. When you show that disk, the one that you've got in your background right now, the Gleason map, the AE map, a lot of times people go, well, that's not my flat Earth. If you talk to 10 different flat earthers about their model, you'll get 10 different models, and some of them will just be, well, we don't know.
I'll give you and your audience just a bit of a sneak peek of my video. It's about flight paths. We have 100,000 commercial flights a day in this world. They all start in the right place. They end up in the right place. They must travel there in the most efficient manner possible. Simple economics tells you that. You can track the flights. You can take pictures out the window. You can know exactly where you are, what you're flying over. And so we have literally as close to as an infinite amount of data as possible when it comes to flight paths. And so you have to have a map that can account for that. If you don't, you have nothing. The reality is that these two models here on my background can make sense of most flights. And so I'm going to be encouraging both sides, the globe side and the flat earth side, to make sure that if you're going to give anybody your time, you're going to watch their videos, you're going to like their videos, you're going to maybe even give them money, ask them what map they have that can account for all of these flights. Because you know how easy it is to test a flight? Anybody can take a flight for a few $100 or $1,000 or whatever. We have all this data. And so we can't just ignore that because we want to propagate whatever fantasy we have in our mind. So these two maps right here are the only two that can account for these flights. And the final experiment is going to be the definitive test to which one is right.
Is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with?
Check out our website. It's thefinalexperiment.com with dashes, the-final-experiment.com. A lot of information on there about who's participating, who's going to Antarctica. We have a scoreboard. We have a live countdown timer for when we get to Antarctica. So check that out. And then follow us on YouTube. That's where we give all of our updates, and it's getting more exciting by the day.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Will, for coming on the channel and taking your time to walk us through what's going on in December. It sounds like a really intriguing experiment that you all are going on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and we'll keep everybody updated as to what happens. And yeah, I think it'll be great.